Sheena Ringo, we are on to the next track in our track by track listen through to Musai Moratorium, the debut album, and that brings us on to Kofukuron, A View of Happiness. I am hoping that I'm pronouncing that correct. I've got to be honest, it's one of those names where I don't actually know what it means, and I'm wondering, should I know what that means? But it's not clicking with me what that actually means. So anyway, we're going to see what it means by listening to the song together now. But yeah, so far this album, for me, one of the most interesting things about it is the way that it's sort of painting a picture, building up an image of a woman who at this point in her life was obviously very young, but has moved to the city and is really confronting and dealing with all of the things that city life bring. Now, interestingly enough, I know that she came from very far away, but I don't actually know exactly where she grew up. I know it was like a very far off prefecture, if I remember correctly, but I don't know much about her life growing up. So I'd be really interested if any of you want to get into the comments and tell me a little bit about how she actually grew up, just like a little bit of a profile of what her early life was like, if it's a known thing. It'd be really interesting to know how that contrasts, just to kind of get an idea for how heavily this city life must have actually hit her. Anyway, so let's jump in. This is track number 4 from Musai Moratorium. Oh, we're getting the rock chops now. There's that bass again. I know this song. Why do I know this song? I thought I recognised the verse. Did Oatscry do a cover of this? I'm in shock. I know this song. I'm in shock. I am in genuine shock. I'm sure I know a cover of this, but this has me really surprised. Alright, let's cover a couple of things before we go any further. First of all, I definitely know this song. I don't know where I know it from. I'm pretty sure I've heard it covered. I feel like I've heard it covered by Oatscry. But the funny thing is now hearing it like this, I feel so completely surprised that I'm almost doubting myself as in where I've heard this before. So I am going to have a quick check in a second. First things first, though, let's just quickly talk about how this fits into the album. I love the way that this follows up from the last song, which I kind of had this swinging, grooving kind of improvised feeling into something that's so deliberate, so purposeful, so high energy, and yet at the same time kind of transfers all of that charming twee kind of clarity of the last song for this gritty, distorted mania that we have here. The screaming sounds on it, I think it's one of those that's definitely fits on this border where for me, I think it's you can get the issue of something where it works stylistically, and if you get it right on the fence, it will both be pushing the lines of what is musical while also really conveying the point of the song. And I think this was kind of on that line. The screaming sounds worked in with the distortion really well. I actually have to say, I do like songs that give a properly unhinged vibe. I think it can work super well, but it's a very difficult thing to get right. Because if you go too far, it can sound melodramatic, self-indulgent. And if anything, it can come across a little bit petulant if you do it wrong. Like you're just kind of over dramatic and not very sincere. I think this actually felt very genuine. I think this kind of sat right on that border. I was wondering when the screaming first started coming in, I was like, does this work? Does this work? And then the more it kind of continued, and I just heard it sort of phasing in from the vocals into the guitars and the way the sounds kind of wrapped around each other, I thought, yes, this definitely does kind of work in a interesting way. It's one of those things that also benefits from the song being so incredibly quick and short. But anyway, I need to check something. Okay, a few minutes have passed, and I've done some real searching online, and I can't find out the cover. I had a little look on Google. I've been using AI a lot as well as sort of Google searching. It's come through some suggestions. I've tried pushing to see if it was used by any other artists, if it was used in any popular TV shows. There seem to be some examples, and just trying to capture various things, trying to see if I got it wrong. I had a look on Twitter as well. Anyway, the two suggestions that keep on coming up is there was a Rikishi cover, which I had a little listen to that. It sounds nothing like I remember it. And then one by Rie Tomasaka, which I couldn't actually find that one, but I gotta be honest, I hadn't heard the name Rie Tomasaka before, so I'd be surprised if it was her. So I don't know. Have I heard the origin of this somewhere without knowing? It would be obscure if I've heard this one, right? I've heard that it's been used in a lot of contexts from what I could see online. I don't know why, but I know this song. Like, I really know this song. And it's really freaking me out because I don't know why I know this song so well, but I really know this song. Immediately, just the minute it started playing, I thought, oh, this is a familiar sort of sound. I thought, oh, this reminds me of another song. I can't think what the song is. And you had the little bit in the verse that goes back and forth between the chords. Oh, I remember this bit. And then the chorus came in and just immediate shock. Just, yes, I know this. I know this so well. So I don't know what to say. I'm literally lost for words. I need to try and work out how I know this song. I don't know if any of you can help me, because in all honesty, how are you going to help me remember how I've experienced something? But if you know of any interesting things I might want to check that might have reminded me, this again might be one of the curses of having been in Japan for so many years and been listening to Japanese music for so many years that I could have picked it up anywhere. But I am genuinely quite surprised. And it feels like something I've heard not like way back in the day. This feels quite fresh to me. At least I must have heard this in the last 4 or 5 years, I'd imagine. Not exhaustively just then. Anyway, I'm just talking about this. I'm hardly talking about the song at all, but I would say that this as a song really did add something to the album, which was craziness. This added a real sense of panicky, high energy fun. But the other thing as well is, I must say that probably another one of my favorite things about this album thus far, with exception probably to Queen of Kabukicho, and I don't mean this as its detriment, but just as a point, is that the album seems to have this kind of tongue-in-cheek rage, which I really like. You know how I was saying a moment ago about how an album can sit on that line between being a little bit too full of itself, a little bit too overly convinced, a little bit melodramatic, and obviously being a little bit too dry. For me, one of the things that is helping this album at this point really resonate and feel good is the fact that it has this sense of slight cheeky self-awareness. It's not too mellow and emo. It's not too dark clothes and depressed stories about how dark the world is and how evil everything is, and oh, men are all awful and the world is this evil place. There's this kind of playful sense of reality, like she's engaging with the world, and yes, she's frustrated, she's angry, she's certainly fighting back against things in the world, but there's this sense of slight sarcasm. Like she's not consumed by this world so much as commentating, so much as kicking back, talking back against this slightly buttoned up, straight shooting, by the books kind of world that she's faced with. And I like that. I like the idea, even A View of Happiness, the idea of finding that little bit of joy, however difficult it is kind of something that, to me, makes this album so much more endearing. It's not some dark commentary on how bad the world is, so much as the view of a person who actually has hope, has ambitions. This was very true in Marunouchi Statistics. She was talking about the things she wanted as much as the things she didn't like. And yeah, I feel like there is this real joy to the album, even in its darkest moments. The funny thing is, the next song, which literally has the subtitle "When It Begins to Get Dark," I'm wondering if that's when the album takes a little bit of a turn. However, I will say thus far, I've really enjoyed it, and this song is I am. Oh, that's going to be haunting me until I get an answer to this. So, guys, get in the comments, tell me what you think, and please tell me if you can think of why I know this song. And until I hopefully see you very soon for the next one of these, or in the comments with an answer. Until then, for now, ciao, ciao.